Hello, everyone. It is your host of Capture the Game within the game, Brady Fowler. On today's episode, my co-host Desmond Jones has the wonderful opportunity of speaking with NFL player, agent, and sports attorney Jill McBride Baxter. Listen in as she explains her 25-year experience and what has changed from when she started to now. Without further ado, we'll take you right to the episode, and thank you again for listening to Capturing the game within the game.
So we're just gonna go ahead and just jump right into it.
Okay.
Um, so Jill, it is so finally nice to meet you. You want to
Nice to meet
tell
you
us
too.
you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I have been, a sports law attorney for 32 years. I was in my second year of law school, and one of my dad's players actually needed help. He was getting a contract with the Rams, and I had just had Lee Steinberg come speak, and I was president of the Sports Law Forum, and I just called his office and I said, "Hey, what do I need to do to be an agent?" And he's like, "Oh, you just have to get certified with the NFLPA." Back then, all you had to do was pay money and go to a meeting, and that was it. It's completely different now. And so, anyways, that's really how I got in the sports law business. I have done lots of other things too. I've been a professor at Tulane's Law School. I've been a professor at University of Maryland. I've consistently done being a sports law attorney. I've been a DA. I've done a lot of different things. I always have like two or three new things going on. So when our girls were born and they were little, I just decided to have my own, which I always had my own practice. It never worked for other people. I just went full on 100% sports law, and because I had little kids. And so I just wanted my own business because I didn't want to worry about like what, who was going to watch them. So I would just be doing my work and the little girls would be running around in the background. Now they're all grown up and out of college. But so, yeah. So, and my husband, I'm married to a college football coach, and my dad is a college football coach. So we moved around. So the sports agents business honestly just worked a lot better for our lifestyle, because I'm a
Mhm.
licensed attorney in 3 states that I don't live in. Okay. So there you go. I mean, so in a nutshell, I've done a lot of different things. I've always done the sports law. Sports law has completely changed. It's evolved. I have my clients are just, I have a very diverse group of clients. I have a lot of football coaches, a ton of those,
Mhm.
athletic directors, I have media, and I have NFL players. And I've had UFC fighters. I've represented UFC fighters. I also have men's basketball, women's basketball coaches.
Mm.
So and I've done represented people like in the Olympics. I've had Olympic athletes. So
Mhm.
what's happened over the years is, if somebody calls me and I think I can help them, I will, I'll take on the situation. I've also defended people against the NCAA. So,
Mm.
anyways, over 32 years, I've done a lot of stuff.
Oh,
and
all
and
that.
now I have a podcast, and I have an online course for aspiring sports agents, and then I have a coaches consulting package for coaches, which allows me to represent them for a year for a flat fee, which has been a really good business model, which I changed.
Mhm.
I also have virtual sports agent, which is for players. Like, there's a lot of times people contact me and I'm not going to represent them. They're not good enough, in my opinion, or they've been a year out, and I want guys that are going to be in the draft, not
Mhm.
not you know people
Mm.
that are out for 2 years, because your likelihood of getting in is not likely. And hey, if you
Mhm.
do, more power to you. So I have a way to guide them through that if they want to do it
Mhm.
themselves. I find most of the players don't want to do it themselves because they actually think an agent's going to get them a job, which is another big lie. But um,
Mhm.
honestly, so anyways, I'm married. I have 2 kids. My husband and I have been married for 29 years, and our girls are 25 and 24. And
That's amazing.
yeah, so that's kind of what and I have my own sports law business called Sports. It's really Jill McBride Baxter, sports law attorney. That's it. That's me.
No, I think all of that is amazing, and definitely kudos to your whole journey in the sports industry. You've seen a lot, done a lot, and I'm sure over the years you had to transform a lot of different things that you had to do because of the growth and the way that
Yes.
you mentioned the sports law has changed. Can you talk a little bit about how like sports law has changed over
Well,
over the
the
time
biggest
it's
thing
evolved?
is, okay, like for NFL players, with NFL players,
Hmm.
what's changed so much about that industry is it used to be, you signed them up, they got drafted, you negotiated their deal,
Hmm.
which is fine. Now they want, oh, I want you to pay for training. They treat you like a bank. I don't do that. I,
Yeah.
I tell young aspiring sports agents, don't get treated like a bank, because the minute you do that, they don't understand. I do the work and you pay me. I don't pay you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think training's gotten completely out of control. Um, and that's why I started Sports Agent Academy, because I wanted to tell young sports agents, or any sports agent,
Hmm.
don't get involved in that. If you have a first round pick, different deal. Okay. But
Hmm.
from about the third round down, it doesn't pencil. And, an undrafted free agent wants the same thing that a first round pick wants. No, that doesn't
Hmm.
work. So I kind of, as a general rule, just blanketly say, no, I don't do that. Pick somebody who will go ahead and pay you. But a lot of my friends have gone out of business because they invested money in the wrong players. And you don't
Hmm.
need to do that. They should
Yeah.
just stay at their school and train and work with their current coaches, and then, see what happens. But they are all convinced that some outside trainer is going to make them better. I don't believe that.
Hmm.
I think it's just a bunch of crap. But and coaches in the NFL, I mean, they just want players to be great players that
Hmm.
love playing football.
Hmm.
And okay, yeah, you got to show that you got some athletic ability, but it's just, I think that's gotten completely out of control. Now let's shift to what's happened over the years too, is that coaches are all represented now. Head coaches, assistant
Hmm.
coaches. Um, it used to just be, head coaches. And
Hmm.
really, if you really look at the history, and I don't know who the first coach was that was earning $1 million, but it was a football coach, and it's been quite a few years. But when that happened, when that shift changed in the economics of football and
Hmm.
basketball, for all that matter, in the coaching industry, they all started getting representation, because universities now have a lot invested in you, and they put everything in the contract basically to benefit them and not you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they'll do anything to get out of paying you. And they slide a lot of language in there that is really detrimental to coaches. Way back when, let's say 20, 30 years ago, a coach got a letter of an appointment that was one paragraph, and this is how much money you were going to make, and that was it.
Right.
There was no even language in there about, why you're going to be fired for cause or without cause, or how much you're going to get paid. So because the money has increased in the coaching side, they all have representation, and frankly, they need representation. Okay. I don't think anybody should be negotiating contracts with a university without an attorney involved. Even if nothing gets changed, at least you know what you're getting yourself into. Because some people don't have leverage to get language changed. Some people do.
Right.
At the beginning, you always have the leverage. So that's completely changed. Now, the other thing that's changed, and this is coming up soon, is the name and likeness issue,
Hmm.
because of the O'Bannon case and the Alston case, which will be heard by the Supreme Court at the end of the month. And Alston has to do with uncapped academic related expenses, and whether it should be capped or uncapped. It currently is capped at COA, which is cost of attendance. Okay. The
Hmm.
O'Bannon case with the name and likeness basically has opened the Pandora's box to the fact that states started passing legislation to say that, student athletes can make money off their name and likeness. I see that as an opportunity for all sports agents to really focus on these name and likeness deals and name and likeness situations and branding deals with companies. Now, you do have to make sure that you understand contracts so that you are protecting the particular person or sports figure, whoever it is, to make sure that you have everything very clearly defined as to what that person has to do, when they have to do it, and when they're going to get paid. The biggest problem with all of this, when you're going to get paid. I've done a lot of endorsement deals for particularly my fighter, and I was blown away by how many people didn't want to pay or were figuring out. I mean, it all comes back to that. So I think the name and likeness thing is going to be another potential for a lot of people. I have heard that they're going to make restrictions, like somebody like me that represents NFL players. I can't represent them in name and likeness while they're in college and represent them as an NFL player. That's one of the things. One of the things I heard that the NCAA was going to do. I don't know how these athletics departments are going to regulate it, but it's going to be interesting.
That's a weird.
Also, uncapped athletic or academic expenses at colleges is going to create, if the Supreme Court rules in the student athletes' favor, it's going to be up to the university to decide how much they're willing to spend on a student athlete. Then what's going to happen is, the great recruit's going to all of a sudden get more than somebody else, and it's going to be a whole another, another whole can of worms. So I'm really following those cases to see what happens, because I represent so many coaches.
Right.
And I do think it's not going to be on the responsibilities of coaches. It's going to be the athletics departments that needs to that need to solve this issue and solve these problems. I think another thing that's changed is people's expectations as to what an agent can actually do, because I am a believer. I can guide people. I can help them create a brand. I can help them create a really great plan and get really clear about where they want to go, how they want to do it, and how they're going to get there. I can protect them contractually. What I can't do is tell the New England Patriots to hire you. You know what I mean? If you're the right fit, whether you're a player or a coach or whatever, you're either the right fit or you're not. And I think a lot of people, athletes and coaches have really unrealistic expectations, because there's a lot of supply and not enough demand in the sports world. The other shift I've changed is esports. I really encourage young aspiring sports agents, get into esports. That's where it's going. And there's so much more potential, and there's not a barrier to entry. If you're in the sports agent world, the regulations for people in at least the NFL world, you got to be registered with the state. You got to be certified with at least for NFL players, NFL Players Association. With basketball, you got to, be with the NBA or WNBA, whatever you're doing. You have to be registered. Then you have to be registered in every state. And then you need to be registered in every single athletics department. So there's a lot of regulations if you're recruiting student athletes. The esports is, the wild, wild west. It's not regulated. Right. So I think it's a really good place for young sports agents to get their feet wet, learn about name and likeness, contracts. They need to be protected. Meaning these people that are doing the games and on the esports stuff. And, getting to know Twitch, I think, is the main, whatever. So I just think that industry, because I've been kind of watching it and really, really encouraging young people to get involved in that, because I think you can learn a lot in the industry, and then you can apply it to any other sports that you want. And then I think also for young sports agents, There's also the team side. There's all this other, or just being in athletics, like being in an athletics department, being on the corporate side of
Yeah.
sports, as opposed to the client side of sports. So anyways, that's just,
No,
that's
I'm
my
loving.
opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm loving everything because you mentioned just so much that I'm like, oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. And just with you even wrapping up and talking about esports, I think that's a field that has like tremendous potentials, and it's only getting bigger and bigger each year. People are starting to become more and more knowledgeable about it and wanted to participate in these things. I think even just recently, Sony just signed a deal with one of the top fighting companies or whatever, just to be like the kind of like the main host or platform for their fighting games going forward. So, it's an interesting world, an interesting time to be a kid, and and
Yeah.
just interesting time to be an athlete, or whether it's student athlete with going with the name, likeness, and image that's getting ready to change, and even just for the potential of people being involved in esports. I think
Yeah.
it gives a chance for people to be discovered. People that may have not have been gifted as athletically, that can maybe use some other skill sets to be able to make a living for themselves. Uh,
Yes, definitely.
I was going to ask you, so what um with you being able to represent so many different, widespread of talent, where it's the NBA or the NFL, what's the what's the, I guess, how do you manage like different like systems to represent people in, because you have
Uh,
to.
I have a process for everything, and I'm a big
Okay.
believer in processes.
Okay.
I have a very specific process for my coaches that I follow. I have a very
Hmm.
specific process that I follow for NFL players, which I
Hmm.
teach people in my Sports Agent Academy. And I follow it to a T, and I'll tweak it. Last year with COVID, I had to tweak it because everything was done on Zoom, but I love
Hmm.
Zoom.
Yeah.
I was able to meet with a lot more people that way.
Yeah, I agree.
And you didn't have to travel anywhere,
Right.
right? So I feel like, there's some things that have happened. So yeah, I have a very specific process that I follow. I tell people
Hmm.
this is what I do. I know that this is what works.
Hmm.
And then and if it doesn't work, it like, let's say somebody doesn't get the job that they want.
Hmm.
Um that's not my fault.
Hmm.
They're not the right fit. It's not their fault either. It's usually they're not the right fit for the position, or don't have the skill set that the
Right.
person wanted, whether it's with coaches, whether it's, wow, I want somebody who recruits this area. Maybe the guy's a good coach, but he doesn't recruit, California, whatever. I mean,
Right.
there's so many different things that go into a hire. Um, and you have to be the right fit for players. You have to be
Mhm.
the right fit too. I mean,
Mhm.
you gotta take another, at least in the NFL, you got to take another man's job, but you also need to get to a team where they need you.
Mhm.
Because if they've got three guys that are legit guys that you got to beat out, and there's no way that you have the skill set to beat them out, why would you even want to be there? You're not going to make the team. You're not going to make any money.
Yeah. No.
So it's just you know just an interesting, I don't know.
No, I get it. I'm an engineer, and so
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan of processes, because if you
Yeah.
follow a process, we know what the expected
Step
results to
one,
be.
step two, step
Yep.
three, step four.
So
Yes.
you talking my language.
Yeah. I'm into processes, and I always am improving my processes, and I utilize my podcast to
Hmm.
interview my
Which,
my
which
clients.
which I think is amazing, by the way. I listened to definitely a couple of different episodes, and I was intrigued by a lot of the different interviews and some of the episodes that I listened to.
Which ones did you like the best? What did you listen to?
I have to hold on. I'm gonna pull it up now, because I don't want to misquote it. Because I was like, as I was preparing for our conversation, I went back. I know I went back and listened to like one of the earlier ones that you
Uh-huh.
did.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I know like started kind of speeding through some of the recent ones that you had did here recently. So hold up as I pull this up as I get rid of my
Oh
work
yeah,
email.
sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so my podcast is Representation Without Taxation, just in case anybody listening has any curiosity, because I've done a lot of different things, interviewed a lot of coaches, and
hmm
my husband did a great one on who's on your team and who's in your pocket. You ought to listen to that one, because
I'm
he's worked with student athletes a lot, and he's like, who is on your team and who's in your pocket? Because be careful, that's another thing with players.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
So this is so I got show proof to make sure people
yeah,
listening.
no, I believe you.
But so the ones that I listened to was navigating the sports laws on women,
Uh-huh.
my thoughts on the Rich Paul rule. I
Oh,
listened
that was way back
to
when. Yeah.
yeah, I listened to performance athletics,
Hmm.
how to navigate the name and likeness issue,
Hmm.
the five biggest mistakes NFL rookies make.
Hmm.
I listened to the Den Mom U Test reflect on relationship with their coach
Oh,
family. I told you
yeah.
I went back.
Yeah, you listen to a lot of them.
So I think you have a lot of great stories in there.
Yeah,
Are you still there?
I've enjoyed getting to know all the people. I love the podcast.
Yeah,
I love it. It's so much fun.
yeah, I totally agree. What are you a big NCAA fan?
Oh yeah, I got a client in the tournament. My one of my coaches at Oregon State
Okay.
is, yeah, so they're going to the Sweet 16. So yeah,
Yeah, they are.
I'm fired up about their team. The Pac-12's just done really great in March Madness.
They
Um,
have.
Now the issue that went on with the I loved that the women called out the NCAA on the
I
discrepancies. I was
I
like,
totally
oh,
agree.
you go, girl. I'm telling you what. The one thing I like about social media is she did it on TikTok
Yeah.
and it went viral and then it got changed. And I loved that she was able to create change in, number one, a short period of time. She
Yeah.
complained about the food and the weight thing. And guess what? They immediately acted.
Mm-hmm. I love that she did that. I love the fact that how quickly that they reacted. The one thing I always remain disappointed about is how they prepared for it.
So what's interesting about that, because we've had a lot of discussions at our house about this, what was going
Mm-hmm.
on. I said, I think I think this has been going on for a long time. But if you really
Mm-hmm.
think about the tournament, normally, they'd be at different universities. So you just go and use the university's weight room.
Right.
So there would be you wouldn't know. And if you're in different hotels in different places, the food's
Right.
going to be different anyway. When they put them in a bubble, then you could really see the discrepancies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
really think that's what happened. But
Mm-hmm.
also, this is the way we've always done it, um, is a problem in sports anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Outside the box, or why aren't you communicating with the men's side? Because I guarantee you those men coaches are saying, I need this. We need a good weight room. We got to make sure our weight coaches have a good weight room if we're there the whole time in the bubble, our players need to work out, blah, 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 blah. We got to make sure they have good food, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they had those kind of communications. I have no idea. I wasn't involved. But I
Right.
guarantee you they, would hear something if it wasn't the way those coaches wanted it,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're in a bubble like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they weren't more like thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
The woman from the NCAA in charge of the tournament, I could tell she felt really bad. I actually felt bad for her, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, why aren't they communicating and
Yeah.
figuring this out beforehand?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I think, they're worried about scheduling the events
Mm-hmm.
and who can be at the game rather than what's going to be the best for the student athlete, you see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe that's the shift in thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think this definitely somewhere along the ways, the ball was dropped, and the engineer me is like, okay, let's do a deep dive, let's do the root cause analysis to it, and let's figure out how do we get to this point so we can prevent it from ever happening again. You know,
Yeah.
and I think, speaking back to that point of, well, this is the way we always done it. I think that's like a terrible mentality that,
Yeah.
that we as human beings, we should also often try to rid it out of our minds, because
Yeah.
the way, just because it's always been the way that we've always done something doesn't mean it's the way that it should continue to, to be or going forward. And so, but I was happy that the women, pretty much got their weight equipment upgraded in a timely fashion. I'm glad
Mhm.
that the video went viral at the time that it did.
Yeah.
Definitely, social media is so powerful right now. Like, I'm sure,
Yep.
like with you being involved in sports for so long, like how has like social media changed the way that you do things?
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot. I mean, you can communicate with people a lot easier. You
Mm-hmm.
can, you can promote your brand a lot easier.
Right.
You don't need to do, 10 ads on TV, which is really expensive.
Yeah.
It's a people can, build their brand really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like this woman went viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I bet she got a lot more followers on TikTok
Yeah.
once she did it. And I wonder, I bet she didn't even think when she did it that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah. I'm sure
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah. So good for her. But that's the power of social media. Social media can also be really cruel.
Yeah.
So there's also some really, I mean, people also say really mean things and don't realize these are people. It
Mm-hmm.
is, to me, I don't care who it is or how much money they're making. You don't
Mm-hmm.
just get to go on there and criticize people when you don't know um, really what's going on. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like a coach loses a game and he's the worst person in America. Come on now.
Yeah.
It's like a lot goes into a game. 50% of the people lose every time they play. So, I mean, I just kind of like, you got a 50% chance of not winning or winning.
Yeah.
But people are really mean. I mean, I'm married to a coach. My
Right.
dad is a coach, and I am baffled about how mean people are. It's like I did feel bad for the woman in the NCAA that was in charge that messed this up. Um, and I don't think she needs to be beat up in the media. They they made the corrections, they listened, which was
Mm-hmm.
good. We need to keep doing that in society because I don't think it's okay for anybody to be treated differently because of any reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
And until we get to the point as a society that everybody realizes that that's not okay, like we don't need to be afraid of people who are different from us. This is
Yeah.
insane.
I
But there's
agree.
still, as we know, there's a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with these people? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And until we get to the point where, nothing is an issue, gender, the color of your skin, the what sport you play, what politics you follow, what,
Mm.
until we get to the point where people, what religion you are. I mean, it's just, I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Let people be.
Yeah.
I mean, and just accept people for who they are and
Yeah.
learn from them, and I think what I have seen this last year is people are listening and learning much
Yeah.
more than they ever have, and I'm
I
thankful for
agree.
that.
Yeah.
But we need to keep moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
and we cannot stop until everybody's treated fairly in this world. When it's going to happen, I don't know, but hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
soon, hopefully in the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right. You preaching right now.
No, I am because I'm just the stuff. There's certain things that really upset me, So
Yeah.
I will definitely, yeah. Anyway,
Um,
sorry, I got off on a little bit of a tangent
no,
there.
no, I want you to be you, you have you on your podcast, you give a chance to interview a lot of people. So, this is now your platform to be interviewed and to
Yeah.
be able to share and release, anything or any thoughts that you may have. So please be you. Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, I have a lot of thoughts, but anyways, what do you want to ask me next?
Oh, I was, speaking of like, so what has it been like for you being a woman and being involved in sports?
Um, well, I feel like because I grew up as a coach's kid, and I
Mhm.
have a book called Born to be a Sports Agent, because I was literally born on a football field, and I'm not joking about that. My parents were in college at San Jose State. The married student housing was right next to the field. And, we just ran around to practice or we're at a game my whole
Yeah.
life. So that's really how I grew up. I understand that industry really well. We were always on a college campus.
Hmm.
Um, I really never really thought much about it. Like my dad just said, "Hey, Gary needs help. You need to figure it out." And I was like,
Hmm.
okay. So I did. And a
Hmm.
lot of my clients, I mean, it's just like my UFC fighters, like, oh, I don't do UFC fighters. Well, we want you to. Okay. So I figured it out,
Yeah.
Um, are there people maybe who didn't pick me? Like, let's say a client doesn't pick you because you're a woman. Okay, fine. Who cares? Then
Yeah.
not the right person for you.
Yeah.
Have I been treated fairly by the NFL coaches? Absolutely, all the time.
Hmm.
They've treated me well the whole time I've been doing it. Now, I'm married to a coach. My dad's
Hmm.
a coach. I'm an
Hmm.
attorney. I've been doing it a long time. I've never had a problem.
Yeah.
And I also have my own business, right? I've always
Yeah.
had my own business. I didn't work for other people. So there was no way for anybody to try to squelch me in my own business. I'm in charge, right? You see
Hmm.
what I mean? So there's no
Yeah.
way to I'm not going to move her up because she was a woman. I already was there.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of just don't really let that get, I just never really let that get in my way. Apparently I was the only woman for a long time. I just didn't know it. I mean,
Yeah.
you just need a client, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I started applying for GM jobs at an NFL team, I don't know what would happen, but it's hard to get those jobs. There's only 32 of them. But you know what I mean?
Very hard.
So, I think it depends on, I don't know. I don't let it worry me too much. I just kind of keep going.
Hmm. No,
Because it's other people's problems. Okay.
yeah.
Just like with anything, like if you have a problem because of somebody's gender, that is your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
My gender is not changing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm a female, big deal. I'm an attorney. I like working. I'm not domestic at all. You know what I mean? My husband, thank God, is a great cook, or everybody would have starved. I'm not joking either. He's always like, oh my gosh, please don't have her cook. Don't worry, I don't want to. It doesn't thrill me.
That's amazing. Speaking of your husband and your father, did you guys have great any family football arguments growing up just because of all the NFL minds and all the football knowledge that was in your household?
My dad and I would have lots of discussions about players and whether they were good enough. We would sometimes argue about that. I will say, let's say there was a play that I was like, I don't think I don't know if I would have run that play, just like a fan. And they're just like, did you watch all the film before the game, Jill? And I was like, no, I didn't. No, they'll call you right out on your crap. So therethere's no way, and they're right. That's why I'm saying when people criticize coaches, you didn't watch all the film and prepare.
Yeah.
You have no idea what the matchups were. You have no idea, the game plan or what their tendencies were. I mean, you just don't know. You have no idea of the injuries that are on a team or on the other team. You just don't know. So, we'd have lots of discussions, and then they'd tell me that, I should not be telling them what to do, but I do anyway. But, sometimes my opinion does matter, especially with the players. And, like, let's say like something would happen with the player, and I'd say, well, you really should think about this or that. I'm talking about personally.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of putting my mom hat on, because you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old males when you're dealing with college students,
Mm-hmm.
football players anyway, and basketball too. And, you just need to be mindful. That's a real like maturation stage. People are growing up, they're learning, they need mentors, they need strong leadership. And some of them don't. Some of them are get there and they're perfect the whole time. And those are the great, those that makes your job a lot easier. But a lot of them need mentoring. And but we've had lots of discussions over lots of things. But I'm like not thinking of anything like in general, like right now, like I'm thinking, oh, remember that argument, because we all have opinions, we all have different opinions, and we all talk about them, and that's okay, right? I mean, but I would defer like on the coaching end of stuff at a game, defer to the coach. They know more than what people sometimes give them credit for, and so do the players, right?
Yeah, I know it's been times where like my parents, or at least my father and my brother and me, and even sometimes me and my wife, we big, sports fans. Whether we see a play, we get mad at how it turned out because of like, why would y'all call this right there and there, or they should have done this or that. So we always like to coach from our couch. So I was just curious to see, if you guys do the same thing or not.
Yeah, coach from the stands, I call it, and then I'll say something to my husband, and he just like will literally. It doesn't play out so great, but you know what? Who cares? Life is like, we have a lot of strong people at my house. Everybody's a leader, nobody's a follower, so just don't get in anybody's way, and we're good. I don't know about your house, but our house is like that. Our girls are really strong too. It's like, whoa, we raised them this way, and now they are that way.
Yeah. Oh man, what's one of your biggest takeaways for being in the business for nearly 25 years?
Well, I think you just need to constantly be changing and finding out what's going on, and then you need to stay ahead of the curve, because that's why I started a podcast. That's why I started online courses. That's why I do stuff on social media. That's why I just joined Clubhouse, because you got to keep moving, right? And learning. And you have to be a great problem solver, because every client has different problems. I mean, I just had a situation with a coach, and I've had to really, like squeeze my brain on this one, because I've never seen this before. And then I just call a couple of my friends that, like maybe do a lot in employment law, and make sure I'm not, going in the wrong direction, because so I usually, if I get stuck and it's an area that I haven't done a lot in, and it usually has to do with employment issues with coaches, or, at a university or an NFL team. And I'll reach out to my friends that are not in sports at all. They're just, they're in a big law practice where they're constantly, in court all day, because we're not operating that way, right? Ours is a lot of marketing, negotiating. So I just think you got to just really look at the trends, and be willing to change and grow and learn new things and stay ahead of the curve. I mean, I don't do things like my peers. I don't even follow my peers. I try to learn from other people that are doing things like in marketing and what they're doing. So
that's critical.
Yeah, it is.
That's really critical. Which is it harder to represent, coaches or players? If you had to rank them.
I don't think either one of them's hard. They're just different.
Yeah.
They're just different. Players, when you first get a player, it's really intense, and then once they're playing, you're protecting one of the CBA and hopefully getting to their next big deal. But they got to play great to get the next big deal. Again, they're the ones that create the leverage for themselves. And injuries are a huge, problem for athletes.
Yeah.
For coaches, it's protecting them contractually, and then guiding them to, make the right decision on job choices. Because I think sometimes coaches that move around too much, I don't think that's a good idea. I think being realistic about what you're really going to get when you're young, it can be really, because a lot of young coaches have done real well quickly, and then every young coach thinks they can do the same when they're not really ready. And I shouldn't say some are not ready. So I mean, there's just a lot. I think there's a lot of mentoring with coaches, because I think they sometimes, especially, I don't know, there's some of them are just unrealistic. Again, lots of supply, not enough demand. See, there's the money has gotten so big in college sports, that in coaching, that a lot of people, I want to be a coach. It's a hard job too. It's no days off, but anyways.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. What about you? How are you involved with this sports agent business? If you're an engineer.
Yeah, so
now I'm gonna interview you.
That's okay. This is good. My wife is Chantel Smith Jones. So
your wife is Chantel. Okay.
Yes. So I'm just here helping her with any technical or aspect that she needs. I do websites. I'm in the process of learning how to build apps as well.
You are?
Yeah.
Good.
So just pretty much anything that from like a technical standpoint, or even just a technical know-how, I just try to be there and support her as much as I can. And I'm a sports, so I kind of have I'm big into sports, so I kind of have I have a little eye for it. Just for helping things, or just being able to communicate what I see or what I know. So and just try to be a good husband, support her where I can, and just try to uplift her, encourage her. So that's how I'm kind of involved. So I'm part of her team, Culture Sports Agency. So I'm the director of technology over that portion of the business.
So are you guys mostly doing basketball, would you say, or what would be?
Yeah, so her primary focus is WNBA, the NBA as well, and also she's looking forward to getting into track and field.
Oh, okay. So in the WNBA, do they have a whole process for certification like they do in the NFL and the NBA?
Yeah, I believe this is me pulling from my memories. I believe that you just have to at least have a bachelor's degree and take a test. If you're FIBA certified, you don't have to take a test.
Oh, okay.
In the WNBA, and I think their annual fees is about $1,000 now. It's between $750 and $1,000.
Okay. Good. So so the FIFA is what's the FIFA organization?
The FIBA. So I can't even think of the acronyms right now. So FIBA. Hold on a second. I'm gonna look it up. Federation International Basketball Association.
Okay.
So, and that's really that's mostly overseas basketball.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Got.
So, because she was FIBA certified, it was easier for her to become WNBA certified because there's no test taken involved.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that's how I'm kind of looped into everything, and so I'm just this guy that's the jack of all trades around here. So
Oh, good. Well, somebody's got to do that. Yeah,
yeah. So
that's great.
yeah.
So, you have any more questions for me?
I do. I'm going to a wraparound question. So it's a
Okay.
is this a like a quick either or type question for the most part, and we just have this is like a little segment where we have a little fun and just to get more of your personality out there. So
Okay. You haven't figured out my personality yet?
I think I know it pretty well now to talk with you. And plus, like with talking with my wife, she's raved about you. She's like, yeah, you got to get Jill on the podcast. Jill's dope. Jill's this. So I was like, okay. So I see why she loves you so much. So okay, so let's get started. All right.
Okay.
So are you a do you prefer TV shows or movies?
Ooh, probably movies.
Okay. I'm a TV show person, so but
Are you?
that's
Oh, I watch
yeah,
movie too, but I love movies. I love
yeah.
movies.
Okay. What's your favorite movie? You got to pick one.
Oh boy, that's a hard one. I love When Harry Met Sally is a great one. Uh, oh, there's just so many. It's hard to pick one, but
Yeah,
there's lots of great ones actually.
yeah. Are you a chocolate chip cookie person or oatmeal raisin cookie person?
Ooh, probably chocolate chip cookies.
You can't go wrong with a chocolate chip, but man, I love raisin cookies. Like
Do you?
a good soft chewy raisin cookies just warms my soul.
Remember
So
how I told you I'm not domestic though? Like food just doesn't cross my mind most of the day. It's like,
that,
what marketing idea do you have? Or maybe I can go on a hike or something, or
yeah,
my
it's not,
husband's always planning the food.
yeah.
He's thinking about what he's gonna eat for dinner at breakfast. I'm like, what?
I think me and your husband can relate because I'm always the one, worried about food. Like, yo, what we gonna eat later? And my wife is like, I don't know, but I'm thinking about this, and this, and this, and this. I'm just like, girl, when are you gonna eat? Okay, because I need you to do something. I need you to eat. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's funny just to talk with you. I hear all the similarities of us,
Oh, do you?
yeah, I do. So it's been funny for me. uh, okay, so let me ask you this. So, one of these philosophies, coaching philosophies, has to go. Either your husband's or your dad. Which ones?
Coaching philosophies.
Yeah,
Well, they're really different people. My dad was the head coach for a long time,
right.
and my husband was the special teams coordinator. So I actually think that those two align really well, to be honest.
Okay.
Meaning that they would be on the same page.
Okay. This is a funny a question I want to ask. When you met your husband to be, did like your dad challenge your future husband at the time, like coaching thoughts or just football knowledge at the
No,
time?
no, I call my husband the pre-approved husband. My husband was working as a GA when my dad was at University of Arizona, and my
Ah,
dad was working for Coach Tomey, and then my husband went to University of Maine and had his first like full-time job,
hmm.
and then my dad got hired as the head coach at University of Utah, and he tried to hire my husband as the special teams coordinator there, but then Coach
Wow.
Tomey wanted him back in Arizona, and he was hiring him as a special teams coordinator at U of A. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
truthfully, my husband went to U of A. We were not dating then. And
Hmm.
then I was living in Tucson at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, who am I going to get tickets for the game from? My dad's gone. And so John was the only single one. So I was like, hey, can I get tickets to the game? And then we started dating, and we literally got married a year later. So no, he was pre-approved. My dad already knew him. My parents already knew him before I did.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So no, I call him the pre-approved husband. So no, they don't. No, they're very supportive of one another. They're different. My dad is so close, and my husband is too, but so close to all the players he's coached. Like, still to this day, they're constantly in touch with my parents.
That's good. That's how you know you.
My dad's really good with people.
Yeah,
really good with, and my husband is too, but not like my dad. My dad has a gift that most people don't have. So
that's good. I know I'm a former athlete, and some of my coaches that, some of the coaches that I really love or enjoy, I still kind of talk to or communicate every now and then, and just just the love I have or just the appreciation I have for those people. I still show that today to them. So
yeah,
I totally get that. Okay, another question for you. You get a chance to take over any football organization. Who do you choose and why?
Well, I mean, that's a complicated question because you have, you need a great quarterback, but you also need a really great defensive lineman to disrupt everything. And then you need a left tackle to protect the quarterback. You need a good center. I mean, that's and you needed a great kicker. They score most of the points. They score more points than anybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm going to pick, you mean the best players, I would want?
No, you would you can just say you get to run and take over the football operations for this particular organization.
Well, I would definitely want Patrick Mahomes. Okay.
Yeah.
I really like Leonard Williams played at USC when we were there, and he's a really good defensive tackle. I would love to have Steve Smith, who is not playing now, as my wideout because he's tough as all get out. I would probably want, Sebastian Janikowski was the best kicker. If I could pick anybody,
he had a leg.
He played for a long time. Yeah, he had a huge leg. So I would want him on my team. I love the Australian punters. So I really like Mitch, who's at San Francisco, is a really great player. I would love to have him on my team. And or any Australian. I love the Australian punters. I love them. They are just such a great energy and vibe to have on your team.
Their whole culture is fun too.
Oh, it's the best. Are you kidding? I love it. It's great. Tight end, I'd want the guy at Tampa, the guy that Tom Brady run over. And this is, obviously I'm thinking about their prime, right?
Yeah.
Linebacker. Who would I pick at linebacker? Well, I'd want Michael Strahan on my team too. I think Mike Singletary was a great linebacker, but I'm trying to think of who was the best linebacker. I don't know. That's a harder question, but
you're good.
I would want a really disruptive defensive lineman, because if you cannot deal with those guys, they can really. I mean, you watch the Super Bowl. Why did they win? Why do you think they won? Defense.
The defensive line destroyed the offensive line.
That's exactly right. And I know that I think Kansas City had a couple of injuries and they had to move some people around or something happened.
I think both
and that really impacted their whole game. But yeah, and then gosh, there's some. Who's the corner that could run back kicks and punts? I probably wanted Dory Jackson on there because he's a corner that can run back kicks and punts. I don't know. That's a more. I'd have to do some more thoughts on that, but yeah.
No, you're good. I like your picks and I like your choices, so I can't argue with them. Well, I mean that takes us pretty much to the end of our podcast for today. Do you want to
Okay,
go ahead and drop your social medias where people can follow you and know how to reach you?
sure. I am on Clubhouse now, which is Jill M. Baxter. I am going to be hosting rooms there, which is going to be Ask a Sports Agent. So if you have a question for a sports agent, like, do I need one? Like if you're a coach, or
Mhm.
why you need one, or if you're an aspiring sports agent and you've got some questions, I would love for you guys to join me on there. I'm going to do one next week. I think it's 6 p.m.
Okay.
Um, Pacific time, and I'll keep doing them.
Okay.
On Instagram, I'm at agent_McBride Baxter.
Mhm.
And then on Twitter, I'm pretty sure it's my name on there. I'm not looking at it right now, but I think it is like Jill Baxter, or at Jill Baxter under my name. And then if you want to go on my podcast, it's on iTunes, which is Representation Without Taxation, which is free information, is what I say.
Mhm.
That's why I picked the name.
I like it.
Yeah, and then I have a Facebook page, but I don't think as many people are on Facebook anymore, honestly. But I do have a Jill McBride Baxter sports agent, thing on a business Facebook page.
Yeah.
But I think I'm more active on Twitter and Instagram, and then my podcast. I feel like, and then I have a YouTube channel too, which is Jill McBride Baxter Sports Law Attorney, and I have various YouTube videos. Like, if I have a ton of educational YouTube videos.
Okay. No, that's awesome. So I know I need to follow you personally on all social medias now. So now that I have a chance to meet you. The one thing I did get a chance to talk about during our interview was your core values, which was protection, advocacy, and trust. I love that concept. But maybe sometime later down the road, I can get you back on a podcast and we can continue talking.
Okay, great.
So, but yeah.